I've had a surprising number of people ask me recently how I read my tarot cards so intuitively. And this is not really something that I guess I even realized I was doing. But the question that's come up a few times lately is like, I feel like you just kind of know what the card says, and it's way beyond what I'm getting out of the guidebook, and I don't really understand, like, how do you know that that's what that card is saying? And there are several different ways that you can build up your relationship with your tarot deck. And it's a relationship. It really is like getting to know a person and getting to kind of know like their preferences and how they work, and how, you might make them mad, or it's like you almost get to, sometimes with some people it's like you know what they're going to say before they say it, or you don't even have to ask the question, blah blah blah. And it's really the same thing with your cards. I have gotten to a point in my practice where I will have a question and I'm like, I'm not even going to ask my deck this because I already know what it's going to say. Like, I already know the reaction I'm going to get. And there is no point in me asking this question. And we can get into that in another video. But like, how you build up your relationship with the deck is a combination of things. You've got to start with the guidebook. We all start with the guidebook. None of us, no tarot reader, like, just knows the traditional definitions of these cards without going to the guidebook. So don't think you're doing something wrong if you're a tarot beginner and you feel like you're relying a lot on the guidebook. We've all been there. It's just that over time you start to remember and memorize what some of those keywords are, or just like the feeling of the card, whether the feeling is hope or exhaustion or fear, or a sense of like magical wonderment, or like whatever it is that is kind of the feeling behind the card too. And at this point I feel like it's the feeling I get immediately that I then have to think how to translate into words so I can explain it to someone. But so part of it's the feeling that the card is giving that goes along with the definition in the guidebooks. But some other ways that I've built up my relationship with my cards is to actually take one card and then ask the deck, tell me more about how to understand this card. Like, what are some of the energies that are all part of this card? And so maybe it's like the High Priestess card that I want to understand better. And then I'll draw like 3 cards to help me better understand all of these different components that are wrapped into the feeling and the message behind the High Priestess card. That's something that I've done for a really long time. I really like doing it. And I think that it's helped me tremendously to kind of get these little bits of extra thought, or to like really deepen the meaning of a card. Another great way to deepen your understanding of the cards is to read a lot of different guidebooks, because the traditional meaning of a card is the traditional meaning of a card. But when you look at different decks, you're going to get like that person's interpretation, or a different way to look at that card, or another side of that card that maybe you've never considered before. And then you can do with that what you will. You may kind of reject it and go, no, I'm not feeling that. I really don't feel like that's, what this card is about. Or you may take it in and go, you know what? That's a really cool way to look at that. I like that. I'm going to remember that. So that's another way that you can deepen your relationship with your cards. Another way is, it's a little bit of trial and error, right? So when I first started with my cards, I would do my best to think like, okay, this is what I feel like these cards are trying to tell me. This is the message I feel like I'm getting. And when I was first starting out, I would write them down a lot. I would write down like, these are the cards I got, and then I would kind of write out beside them maybe the keywords from the guidebook, and then maybe somewhere else on that page I would try to fit it all together into a little bit more of a narrative of, to write it out in sentences, what I thought the message was. And then I would like go back through sometimes. If it was a situation, I might be in that situation for a few more days and then go back to the cards that I had drawn to try to see, like, okay, how did that message fit in with what happened today with this issue? Or, I thought that the cards were telling me this, but then I did that, and then it kind of blew up in my face and I don't really get it. And sometimes it's like reverse engineering, where then you go back through the guidebook and you're like, what did I miss? And you sit with it and you think about it, and then you're like, oh, I totally wasn't looking at it this way, or I kind of missed the fact that it was trying to tell me this. And so it's like sometimes it's trial and error. It's just like learning how to better understand the message that you're given the first time that you're given it. And then also it's like building up trust with the deck, because there were times in the beginning where I would get a message and I would read it and I would just be like, I don't know that. I don't feel like that's the right answer. I don't like that. I'm not going to do that. And then I would just do whatever I wanted to do. And then it would probably blow up in my face. And then I'd be like, ooh, should have listened to the cards. Like the cards were definitely telling me not to do that. And I did it anyway. And look, oh no, not the consequences of my actions. And so then it would help me to better build up trust. Like when the deck tells me, hey, this is a bad idea, I need to explore that. I don't need to follow it blindly. You're not supposed to just follow the deck blindly. You're using it for guidance, right? You're not giving away your power to the deck. You're just using it to help you better inform your decisions or your thoughts around something or your understanding of a situation. And then there are a lot of other times where you get a message that doesn't make sense. And over time, I have learned it was because I was asking the wrong question, or asking it in the wrong way. I was trying to ask a question without doing my own research first. The deck, I said it in another video, the deck will be sassy with you. You cannot bypass the work that you are supposed to do by trying to get the deck to just give you all the answers when you never researched something. Like you can't just be like, is this job going to be a great job for me, when you haven't researched the job, you don't know anything about the company, you haven't even taken an interview, you've not talked to anybody that works there yet. Like you have done zero work to try to find out anything about this company, and you just want the deck to just tell you without, like, that will not fly. The deck will give you a bunch of cards that make no sense, or it will give you the wrong answer, like on purpose, because it's like, that is not what I'm here for. That is not what I do. You still have to do the work, Missy ma'am. You can't just come to me like that. No. Go back and do your research and then come and ask me some questions about whatever you can't find on your own, or whatever, you get a bad feeling, but you don't know why. You come back and ask those clarifying questions, or like to fill in the details, but it's not going to do all the work for you. It's not supposed to. And sometimes, you're asking questions about the future, and the deck is like, girl, you are not supposed to have that answer yet. Like, you just have to kind of live your life and see how this unfolds. You can't just ask me, like, let's say that you have a loved one that's got like a really, really, really serious illness, and you're trying to ask the deck, like, is this person going to survive this illness or not? The deck is not going to tell you that. That is not what the deck is there for. It's not there to tell you that. And it will very gently give you a whole bunch of cards that make no sense, to just kind of be like, this isn't it. Like, I love you, but this is not it. So you kind of learn to, like, it's a relationship, right? So these are just like some of the things over all these years that I've done or learned, and I hope they help you. And so, like, what other questions do you have about tarot cards, or reading them, or interpreting them, or just anything like that? I'm here to help.